Says we're recording. So, yeah, good morning. So it's David Cathers here from Home Team Northwest and just trying to get some word out today. And I'm with Mike Walsh, which many of you know if you're my clients that been working with him for probably a dozen years or more.
It's been about that, sure.
If you look at the hat, Axia Home Loans, that's who he's with there. So, but we
this is
want
my quarantine hat.
Yeah, quarantine. Make quarantining great, or something like that.
That's right.
Anyway, we just wanted to kind of get together. There's a lot of false things or a lot of different things bouncing around, I think, on the news and papers and who knows what about all the loans and what's going on. So Mike and I just wanted to get together and share a little bit, even though we're in different rooms, different places, but it's kind of today's norm. So kind of the things, what we had here, what we can do while we're under quarantine. Their loans are still going forward from what I understand, but there's changes that we're seeing. And then maybe one of the other things we're going to hit is a lot of stuff you keep hearing about. Well, interest rates, went to zero and all this. And what does that really mean? So maybe we can touch on some of those things. And, even you and I worked on refi of our place here and, got in while there was some good numbers, but, it's a thing that's moving so much right now. But what do you want to, why don't we start just kind of what's going forward? What are the things you're seeing that are changing here, or what's going on in the loan industry? I mean, that's your baby. You've been at it for so many years.
Yeah, we've definitely changed the way we do things. We're doing everything through, social media and Zoom, just like we're doing right now. All the way from the appraisers going out. The appraisers are now doing more of a outside exterior only type appraisal. Title and escrow companies are trying to get to a point where they can do all e-signing and not literally have to meet you face to face. So we've definitely had to adapt in different aspects of putting a mortgage together. Most of our products are the same out there. We've lost a few of the products that were more high risk loan products temporarily just during these uncertain times. But generally, most of our products are still readily available.
So at least you're considered essential. They say we can't go out and meet, can't send an inspector out, can't do anything. There's no activity on our end, but thank goodness, at least for the things that have been written and going, people should know that those loans are still working through the process. It's just probably taking a little more time right now, right?
It is. Yeah, they are taking a little longer. My staff is all working at home. My processor, I haven't seen her for 3 weeks roughly. So we see each other just through Zoom, just like you and I right now. As far as processing, getting the documentation together, that's a little more difficult. Trying to get a hold of employers. They might be still essential employees, but they may be working out of the house as well. So we're trying to get phone numbers for bosses, managers, HR, trying to get IRS transcripts, those sorts of things. Now the borrower has to go in online and retrieve those versus us being able to use automation to retrieve those. So loans are taking a little longer. We're telling clients just be patient. We are working on them and moving forward on them. Title and escrow companies are still pretty much full function. Yeah, they're full steam ahead. So
that's something I should probably bring up on our side too, to let clients know that there's always a form for something. So we've got a form out now too. Of course, I think it's been there before. It's now focused on the idea that if there's a delay in closing, a lot of times people are worried about what's going to happen to my earnest money, or how am I held to this contract? Well, you still got to be good faith in your contract. But if it's due to the coronavirus, in other words, like you said, you can't get the information, it's delayed because of no way to get the employment records or something like this that's due to this virus, you're not going to get screwed out of your loan or something. You're not going to get the contract messed up. We've got a form for that. Like always, there's a form. So, make sure you check with your agent on that. Just the idea that you can relax knowing that you can, we're all in this together so we can get through that. It's not don't worry about that earnest money you've got or something put down, and we'll still make it happen. And Mike will be there if you're working with him. I know getting stuff done. And you mentioned Cammie in the background. We got to give her a pat there. I mean, I know even when she's not quarantined like this, I know that lady works weekends and nights and everything else doing.
Yeah,
So
Cammy's
kudos.
been my processor for my full career, basically 29
Yeah,
years together. So
you guys are something. So kind of relax, know that things are going since we're all in it. Is there something to the fact? I mean, I know I listened to a kind of a speaker that you had sent me over yesterday, something you'd heard, and he was talking about, a lot of the stuff is down the pipeline. We don't know for sure, but this is a whole different event than, say, our last crash. Or anything. We don't really necessarily see a crash because everybody, if anybody's affected, it's everybody. So it's not necessarily like deadbeat jobs and stuff like that. It's just nobody has a job, maybe, but
yeah.
the lenders are probably going to work. Your conditions are going to be something you can work through if people will just communicate as best they can.
Yeah, these loans that are sitting out there are mostly fixed rate mortgages. I know me personally, I haven't sold a adjustable rate mortgage for, probably 10 years. So these are all mostly fixed rate mortgages. These aren't, like you're saying, not deadbeat people out there without jobs, not able to make their payments. Currently, they're unemployed. There's going to be some forbearances to help, get through this time period, but these are good loans. These aren't toxic loans. So it's not a similar event like we had, 10 years ago. So much different time.
Once this little freeze kind of goes away, they're looking at people. Yeah, there's going to be some hurt, but people are getting back into their jobs. Things will gear up. It kind of has an outlook like the market will be pretty nice when it gets going. So
yeah, we should have a period of lower interest rates and hopefully, property values stay propped up during this time. So, and some of that will just depend on how long this event, takes place.
So that brings up something too, like you said, the interest rates. I know people are calling. There was things going out. The rates went down to zero, or I think I called you one day and said, "Hey, have we got negative interest rates so you can start paying me for my home loan?" But tell me what's going on in layman terms, not in all this stuff we can understand. What's an idea of what's really happening there?
Yeah, without digging too deep, initially when the coronavirus first became more of a threat in the U.S., there was a flee from the stock market, just taking the money right out of the stock market in the billions of dollars range. And initially rates, popped clear down to levels I haven't seen in my whole career. And it was down in the high 2, low 3% range for 30-year fixed for most loans. And it was probably 24 hours later, they started to edge upwards. The money was actually taken out of the bond market and rates started to head up. And they went up. We were seeing 3 to 5 price changes a day, increases. And so I hadn't seen movement like that either heading upwards. So the people that did lock in during that time obviously got, great interest rates. It's just we as nationwide, all the loan officers, there was more business than we could even lock in during that time frame. So after that day and a half, we started to see rates up in the 4s. I saw them go all the way up into the mid 5s, if you can imagine, just within about a week's time. And so people were calling wanting that 3% rate. And the reality was we were in the 5s. So it was just kind of delayed. A lot of the news out there on the social media and newspaper and TV, it was just delayed those few days. So eventually that started to taper off a little bit. The government realized they needed to, get these rates back down in a manageable, way where we could start lending again. And they started to pump money into the bond markets and buying the mortgage-backed securities. So what happened was rates started to trickle back down. The Feds also did it at one point on a Sunday, actually, if you can imagine. It wasn't even during our work week or when the markets were open. They actually dropped our federal fund rate down to 0, which helped for the overnight, borrowing rate. So if you can imagine like a one-day lock. So that helps out, car loans, credit cards, home equity lines of credit, those sorts of things.
But not an actual mortgage.
It didn't impact mortgage rates. They continued to rise after that, actually. So a lot of people at that time were calling in. They wanted that 0% rate, which, of course, we had media that we could send out there and instruct them and say, hey, this is the difference between the federal fund rate and mortgage rates, and try to explain to them that there's no 0% mortgages out there anyhow. Yeah. So.
In fact, I think there was an article or something you sent me on that. I'll have to go back and find. Maybe we could, or if you've got it, or send it to me, and we'll attach it to this video so people can kind of see that, understand a little more if they want, rather than, all the hype and
Absolutely.
crazy.
Absolutely.
So people could still be calling and doing like refis. I mean, you're slammed, but there's still, it's just you're going to have to work in between this up and down, it sounds like.
Yeah. Rates have trickled back down in the 3 to 4% range, depending on your situation. So if you're doing cash out refinances, if you're trying to just do a rate and term, just try to bring your interest rate down, bring your payments down. It is a good time to refinance. It's just a matter of trying to figure out when's a good time to lock in that rate.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I tell people, let's get your paperwork together, get all your information together, so we're ready to strike when those rates hit that low point. So
that was kind of like when I had called you. We talked a couple months back about. I mean, we were on a 30-year loan and getting. It's getting paid down so much, and it was like, okay, we're at a point where I said, let's watch these rates. And like you and I got on the phone there because we were able to lock in, luckily, in between that little juggle there, and we had 21 years left on our loan or something. We knocked it down to a 15-year loan, and we're going to basically pay the same payment as we were making on that 30-year loan. And yet we're cutting like 6 years off of interest and payments. So I guess that, that was how we looked at it, is if we can make the same payment, the same outlay, and yet starts cutting things back, get this thing paid off in a shorter time. Or like, that was how we looked at it, instead of just a refi. And
I think the government truly wants to keep these rates low. It makes sense. It's like a free stimulus. This is something that doesn't cost the government money, besides they're putting this money in and trying to keep rates down. But if people can save $300, $400, $500, it truly makes sense for them to try to save that monthly expense. So,
yeah. Anything else you can think of that's come out of this that's, you're hearing from clients that, you might want to get the word out that we can share today? Or
I think just like you said earlier, I mean, we're all in this together. So just being patient through this time. If you are trying to go through whether it be a mortgage or buying or selling, just be patient and try to learn. There's different ways to do things now, and you just have to try to be open-minded to those changes, and adapting to it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I spent some time on a Zoom call again yesterday with a group of ours for all our YouTube videos that we do. And again, this part of this, trying to educate people, not cramming something down their throat about, hey, come do this. It's just like, here's the questions that people are asking. So we're finding it. And even now I can't physically go out. I'm not allowed with this shutdown to go out to a house and even do the videos or stuff. But we've always kind of done like a lifestyle video, or we're looking and doing some virtual reality now where you can, on your phone, or you can put it on the virtual goggles and be able to walk through a home. So, I mean, it's nice I've been using that type of idea for clients that are out of state that are coming. But even now with some of this fear, as it gets open to where I can go out and shoot some of these for some of the clients that are still catching up, but they want to look, we'll be able to, we can send them walkthroughs. I can just go, then they can get a full thing as if they've been there and not have to go worry about getting infected or something like that. So,
I know there is a lot of pressure on our governor to change that, to make the real estate agents essential, during the market. And I felt like the real estate agents were being very respectful of the virus and the way they were doing business and starting to do business and adapting before that was shut down. So I'm hoping they recognize that soon, so we can get help with keep the market cooking.
Well, yeah, and the whole thing is to be able to say, let's get this thing under control, because if we expand out and start just doing everything as back to normal type thing, we aren't going anywhere. It was interesting. In our Rotary meeting yesterday, it was all Zoom. We actually had one of our exchange students that we had from Italy was on the call with us, and so we're asking kind of what's going on there, and she says, here's living like Anne Frank, or like the rest of it. She says, here, look, I'm doing a lot of studying. But she shared too with what they've been going through. I mean, they really got the lockdown thing pat, but the people are respecting it. And she said in some areas they are starting to see some some flattening or whatever the word you want to use, but they're seeing some better effect of that holding off. I mean, we've got to get to, and like she said, I hope everything keeps going like that, if we just get through this, it's annoying, it's whatever you want to call, we have humor. There's a lot of kind of jokes going around and fun things to look at. Yes, sometimes it gets tiring, but get that side of your life, look at the positives to it. And it'll be sooner that we'll get through this if we just respect that. I mean, I think it's fine that we're, sitting here doing this. I mean, because everybody else is. It's not like, oh, it's just me,
We're all in this together.
Yeah, we are. So we'll just have to, keep doing some things, maybe make some more parodies. Somebody did My Corona song. I don't know if you've seen that on YouTube, but the guy was pretty good. So, I mean, the things are coming out. I think Weird Al Yankovic was even probably, idolizing what this guy had done. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of off subject, but I guess it's part of our subject in our life now. Anything else that, or anything, I mean, people can still call us. They can call me, or they can call you, Mike, at Axia Home Loans. I'll tie this in with this recording and put our information in the bottom for anybody to give you a holler. But
yeah, I think if anybody does want to be on, rate alert per se, if you're in like the high 4s, low 5s on your 30-year fix, probably a good time just to, be in pole position, be ready to, lock in when it, the rates get down in those lower 3s. So you are able to, refinance at least. And if you are looking at, purchasing something of that sort, it's not a bad idea just to get pre-approved at this time, just be ready, so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I think, unless you've got something else, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time. Good old Saturday morning. I know you had all kinds of other things planned, or at least that's what your wife said. She had
a whole day of quarantine planned.
So it's like that saying, all those things you said, I got to put off so I got time. Now the honeydew project list is growing. But thank you, Mike. I always appreciate working with you, and thanks for spending the Saturday morning here, and I'll get this out too, so you can share with your clients too. But thank you again. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Take care, man. Hey, once again, David Cathers saying thank you for spending the time here with Mike Walsh and I. If you've got any further questions, please don't hesitate to either give me a call or Mike Walsh. I'll put his information in the description below. And we've also got a copy of that Fed rate cut to zero kind of document that we talked about. Just briefly explains kind of what the difference is, or why the mortgage rate is not necessarily zero. So, all right, take care, stay safe.